Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Real 1% podcast. Today, special guest is Travis. He's a 20-year Army veteran. He served in the Old Guard. He started off as an enlisted soldier, PFC, and then he went to the officer rank. So he went to the dark side, folks. He said he was at Fort Sill, deployed to Dubai, so he kind of went on vacation there, I think. And then he actually ended his time out at the Pentagon. But interesting enough, it was during COVID, and he actually had a telework. Now he's a fellow podcaster, elite, and happy for him to be here. So without further ado, Travis, how you doing today, my man?
Doing great, man. Glad to be here. Be a lot of fun.
Yes, sir. So what's your background when it comes to the military, and what made you join the Army in the first place?
Man, that's a good question. So I don't really come from like a, I guess traditional military family as far as it moved around a whole lot or anything. I have three grandfathers, and all three of them within a few months of Pearl Harbor kind of dropped everything and joined.
Okay.
So two of my granddads were jumping in the Navy, and they were gone immediately. I mean, it's just like, we're at war, let's go. And one of my granddads was in the middle of cotton season, so he had to wait a little longer. He ended up getting drafted. So I was raised around some pretty awesome dudes. My entire life that just kind of set the right example of like, this is what we do in this country,
Yeah. Where are you from originally?
Originally from West Texas, little bitty town
Okay.
called Big Spring. And if you recognize Big Spring, it's probably because it's where Ryan Tannehill's from. So,
Okay. Oh, all right. Small town.
yeah.
Then. So you joined the Army. Was Army your first choice, or how'd that kind of roll into?
Actually, no. It's funny. I always wanted to be a Marine.
Okay.
I always thought Marines just have a cool uniform, just to be honest. And they still do. It's
a lot of people
the coolest
say that, man.
It's fantastic. I can't lie. I wish the Army would quit changing theirs, but I'm like, whatever. No, I always want to do that. The problem with the Marines is that they don't have Airborne, and that's all I wanted to do. And so my parents said, "Hey, I got it. You want to join the service? That's great, but you're going to college." And I was like, "Fine." So I went to North Texas University up here in North Dallas in Denton. And 9/11 happened when I was there, and I was ready to go. And took a little while to kind of go against my parents. I was 21 years old, but it's still like an emotional going against them. And I ended up dropping out of school and had a full scholarship and everything. They were pissed, and joined to be at 18X, to be a Green Beret, and found out in the Green Beret in the Q course that I don't like the cold at all.
Okay.
And so I can admit that I withdrew. People make excuses. I was cold. I didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And so I, got the joy of being airborne infantry, and that's all I really wanted to do was jump out of planes and blow stuff up. So,
you ever think about if you would have went in the summertime?
Yeah, it probably would have helped. I probably would have mentally been in a better place.
Yeah.
Just completely unaware, but also glad I learned kind of where my max was. Like I learned, hey, I can't be waist deep in a swamp when it's snowing.
Damn.
I don't function very well. It's just not my. I can land nav like crazy though, but it's just freaking cold. So, but
that land nav course must be treacherous though.
It's brutal. That star course is it's. If you're not comfortable being by yourself alone in the woods, you'll find out real quick. So luckily I grew up in the woods. We had a couple 1,000 acres of land for our cattle and stuff growing up. So being alone in the woods was a normal day on a Tuesday for me. But in the backwoods of North Carolina, it's a little bit more shrubbery. So it was a challenge.
Yeah, thorns. Yeah, people.
Oh man, it was brutal.
Coming out with cuts and all type of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, what was your biggest takeaway looking back on that experience now from going through the Q course?
Oh man, I loved that was my introduction to the game. I guess, if you get into any military course, there's, the game.
Right.
And I'm to this day petrified of like dry erase boards. If you've been to the Q course, the dry erase board, it's just like you're constantly going to check it to make sure that you're in the right uniform or what time and equipment. But the biggest thing for me was just like truly learning, like, what is it to mentally the connect from here, your head to your body, and where's that line of how far is too far, and am I hurt or am I injured or am I just saying I don't want to do it,
Right.
And there's kind of pushing through that and everything, like I was in a great physical place. I was just mentally, I was like, I am cold and I don't want to do this. This sucks. So
I can't blame you on that, dude.
Yeah.
So after you, my bad, go ahead.
So I have an immense amount of respect for the guys that finish any of those courses because I'm like, yeah, it sucked. It's cold. So
yeah, respect to all them.
Yeah.
So when you got done with that, does everyone go to be 11 Bravo if they like phase out of that? So
yeah, so if you're 18X, you default immediately to be 11 Bravo. Was it a 1 Alpha, Airborne?
Okay.
You don't have to go to Airborne unit, but you just pretty much it's the pipeline that feeds the 82nd, 101st, the Airborne unit in Italy and Alaska. So pretty much everybody that's where everybody got orders to go if they quit or failed or withdrew or whatever. So yeah, it was just you knew that going into it, like, hey, I'm 11 Bravo baseline no matter what happens. And which is a kind of a cool thing. People frown upon that program, the 18X program. Oh, there's just too many guys that wash out. I'm like, it's great for the airborne community, the light infantry community, and it's great for the SF community. They get a whole bunch of guys that try. They get a larger pool. I mean, yeah, it's only got like a 3 or 4% pass rate. I mean, my class is 185. 4 of them finished it.
Damn.
So I mean, it's a high dropout rate. Because you get a lot of guys like, oh, I'm gonna do it. Never mind, it's a bad idea. And they just find out real quick. And that there's nothing wrong with that. You get guys that are through all the schools, they're through airborne school and all that stuff, and they get to a unit, and they're typically in shape.
Right.
And you get more paratroopers, which is a great thing. So, and they have 5-year commitments, which is even the biggest thing for the Army is you have longevity. The normal contracts are 3 or 4 years, and L18Xs are 5 years. So it's a great thing in that regard to benefit all the units, schools, and the Army. So
yeah. Plus, if you go there as like an 18-year-old or even someone that's never been in the military before, you don't really know what to expect, but at least you test the waters and see, maybe do I want to go back to this thing and try again?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're able, so it's like then you could really train with people at your unit that have done it and say, hey, you got to road march more. Hey, you got to do land arm or whatever your weak spot is. So I mean, respect to the people that try to do that because, like you said, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Also, it was a good experience. It
was great. Well, you had to be 21 to do it.
Okay.
And you had to have an over 50 on the ASVAB.
Okay.
You to be an alpha class is what it's called. I was a recruiter. I know these things. And and you had to do all these pre-tests. You had to score a 270 on your PT test with a recruiter.
Okay.
To go. So like you're getting a large dose of typically in shape, intelligent people, know?
Yeah.
And so that's never really a bad thing for that. All the guys that I knew that were RASP fallouts or 18X fallouts, like there's very few of them are rotten apples. Very few were not intelligent or not motivated and all those things. And so it was I mean, half my platoon, when I was in Iraq in 06 was that way. I mean, good gosh, we had out of our platoon, 7 guys became Green Berets. So I mean, we had a very heavily motivated group of guys. So anyway,
so where'd you end up going to after when you got done with all your schooling? Where was your first duty station? How was that going for you?
Greatest place on earth, man. 1st Battalion, 325th Airborne Infantry, the Red Falcons. So
where's that at?
Fort Bragg. Or now Fort Liberty, whatever it's called. So
how was it? How was that for you?
It was awesome. Rewind a little bit. When I showed up, the entire brigade was on leave from the invasion of Iraq.
Okay.
So there was like 25 of us in the whole brigade that were on like this, like new guys that showed up rear D, and the whole brigade's gone for 3 weeks. So we're just like, what do we do? So it was a pretty weird period of time. And I was the only guy that was assigned a Bravo company of First Bat. And so when everybody came back from leave, I'm literally the only 11 series in the company that does not have a CIP.
Damn.
And I was like, wow, this is like the episode of The Replacements from Band of Brothers real quick. I just feel I feel like an outsider. I was like, I need something to make a name for myself real quick, other than mopping the floor.
Yeah.
And, I was 23.
Okay.
So almost turning 24 when they all got back. And so I'm older than half these guys.
Some of them 19, 20, right?
Yeah, so
they
some of
won
these guys
17,
are super
18,
young.
so.
Like, in college, I worked for the Dallas Mavericks. Mark Cuban was my boss. I did merchandising, all this stuff.
Damn.
And like, I had a cool gig going. And so here I am, I'm getting screamed at by some 19, 20-year-old for not doing my rucksack airborne load correctly. And I'm like, dude, this is just like, I wanted to like argue so bad, but you just don't do that. And did a lot of push-ups, but so that was weird. And then, like, luckily for me, like 2 weeks into it, after they all got back, we went to the range, and I've been shooting competitively since I was a kid. So I'm all right,
Okay.
this is my thing. And I went out there and shot 40 for 40 like 6 times in a row. And they're like, okay, the new guy can shoot. We have to shut up now. And
Damn.
I immediately crossed over into like, the senior people, when you're a private, you don't understand this, but like when sergeant first classes and first sergeants are like, leave the new guy alone. He just made all of y'all look like garbage. So,
Damn.
So that was really helpful for me to do something that I'm good at, and I think for anybody when they join is like, that's the biggest thing, man, is find something you're good at and then find the time to go do it and let them see it. If it's PT, if it's powerlifting. Yeah. I'm saying anybody can rake, but do something that benefits you, benefits the team. And so it was good. It was a lot of fun. It was a high octane. It was weird because I don't know, the Army now, the rotation stuff is completely foreign to me. So full disclosure, like I've done 20 years, right? And deployed to combat 05, 06, 07, and then deployed combat for Dubai. It was technical combat, but we drove Ford Explorers. And but in all those deployments in my entire career, I've never been to NTC. I've never been to JRTC.
Same.
I've never been to Korea.
Same.
But I've got 39 months in combat. And my friends are like, how the crap did you do that? I'm like, I have no idea. But we're in the field all the time at Bragg, or deployed. So we were deployed for 5 months, home for 6 months, deployed for 6 months, home for 3 weeks, deployed for a year. That was back to back.
That's a crazy schedule.
And we were fenced in the whole time. So like my platoon, we came back from 07, we didn't have any privates, or we barely had any specialists. Everybody was a sergeant above, like everybody. And it was just like, we might need to do some realignment here. And but it was awesome just to be a part of a group of guys that everybody was like unique time, because like they were tearing down the barracks. The old first brigade barracks at Bragg were getting torn down, but they're all vacant. By the time they emptied them before the crane showed up was like 4 months. So we had all these barracks that were empty from World War II. And man, we had the best mount training I've ever had. Like that's all we did was just grab weapons, no ammo, obviously, and just cleared doors, cleared rooms, cleared hallways, like every single day. And because we had our own private next door training facility to do it, and nobody cared. Back then, Area J was open. You could go out in the woods whenever you wanted. And so we did a lot of, that's all we did was just train, and had some awesome lead. I posted on my LinkedIn yesterday about Ivan Castro. There were 4 guys on an ODA. They all went to OCS together. They all commissioned infantry, and they all came to our battalion. So we put one former SF operator in every single company. And I got lucky to have a PL in Bravo company. And then I went to Scouts and had Ivan. So I'm like, you have guys that are 12 years Green Berets with multiple deployments already, and now they're lieutenants. Man, it was the information sharing was massive, and it was awesome.
No, that sounds pretty good. Like you guys were kind of like, I was at Fort Campbell and we had the same thing. Even though I was in the HHC, all we did was deploy, come back on assignment to go again. You're not going nowhere, but those units are known for being the best of the best, good training, good people, good camaraderie, good leadership. So looking back on it now, it's not so bad. How did it make you feel when you shot all those 40 for 40s? Did you feel like you're like, heck yeah, like they stopped bothering you? Like, how was it for you?
It was great. I mean, it's kind of like I expect that for myself. If I don't shoot over 36, I'm pretty pissed. I mean, I don't even know what the qualification is now. I haven't shot in the Army stuff in years, but I know it all has changed there for a little while. But it was that was what I wanted to do. I came in to shoot guns, jump out of planes, and blow stuff up.
Right.
And so I immediately got put on a 240 gun crew,
Okay.
and I was a gunner for entirely too long, because that was when I was a gunner, the team leader was the ammo bearer, or the AG, sorry.
Yeah.
And then, they wanted to switch it whenever that was going to pull me off the gun and make me a team leader. Oh no, the gunners are going to be the team leader because they want to get me off the gun because I could rock the 240. So I'm like, Dad, so I carried the 240 for like 27 months. And in the light infantry, that's a long freaking time to carry a very heavy gun. But I'm 6'4", so it kind of comes with the territory. So
you're like a new Rambo, dude. You're good.
Yeah, I wish.
Did they ever try to get you to go to sniper school when you started shooting like that?
So it was kind of I don't know. And I don't want to ever talk ill about any leaders and stuff, but I always wanted to go.
Okay.
And I tried. I actually was supposed to get that in my reenlistment contract when I was in Afghanistan, but I had a very long, candid talk with a scout platoon sergeant. He's like, "Hey man," it's like, "Why do you want to go to sniper school?" I was like, I want to shoot better and shoot further. He's like, "The school's mostly about how to hide," and he's not wrong. It's mostly sniper is mostly how to not be seen. Right. Shooting is kind of we'll teach you that later. So I ended up going to scouts after that and just got a crap ton of trigger time, which is all I cared about, was just getting, the Army implemented the M14 back then. And so getting to shoot that all the time, I think I put like 3,000 rounds down range in a week.
Damn.
So, I mean, it was my shoulder hurt. And, but just getting a lot of trigger time is what I really cared about, was just having fun shooting cool guns and shooting far, and hang out with the guys. There's nothing better than being on the range and because the stupid stuff happens on the range, like the fun, stupid stuff.
Right.
And we used to joke that if you knew what the scouts were doing, we weren't doing our job because you're not supposed to know where we're at. So,
right, true.
I'll tell you a funny story if you want to hear a funny story.
Yeah.
Because my podcast is telling funny stories. So I have to do this. My favorite story ever was we were supposed to do a brigade JFEX, right? A brigade jump into Bragg or Sicily drop zone, and a crap ton of planes to do that, right? I mean, to get a whole brigade in airplanes is a lot of planes. Yeah. And so we brought an aircraft from all over the world, all over the country. We get there, and like you can see the weather off the coast. You're like, that's just pure death, just swirling in the ocean. That's not good. And the hurricane's like going to Florida. So we're flying around for like 3 hours. We come back, and like it's a monsoon of rain. It's freaking ridiculous. We're on the outskirts of this hurricane, and it's this massive rain and wind. They drop the ramps to do the heavy drop first, and we're like, no freaking way that we're going to drop Humvees into this. Like that, we're never going to see them again. This is a 105. It's gone. Like it's just going to go out into the Atlantic, and there in the rain, you can't see any of the planes behind us. It's raining so hard, and then they close the ramp and they scratch the jump. We're like, yeah, we're not jumping. We're not going to the field. So we all start popping our parachutes. We land the aircraft, and we all jump our chutes off in these containers. We go through the green ramp. The backside of green ramp is all these white buses. and we're like, oh man. So he gives us all these buses and drive us like an hour out there. And we all get off, and it's pouring. I mean, you can't see 6 feet in front of you. And they get off, and I'll never forget our brigade commanders. All right, 1, 2, 3, go. We're like, you can't 1, 2, 3, go war. That's not how this works. You can't start a fight with that. And so everybody, all the companies and battalions go off and doing their stuff. And our job, according to the op order, was to go like pull recon on this village that's going to get raided the next night. And we're like, we can't see 5 feet in front of us, much less pull recon on a village. And you're infantry, right? So
now, close enough.
Well,
I'm a cook, dude. Close enough, dude.
Close enough. Well, every platoon I've learned, every platoon that's close enough. Similar. I got a spatula, so you can't kill with a spatula. But every group of guys, doesn't matter if it's what branch it is or what MOS. There's always that one guy you're like, you've watched too much MacGyver. There's always that guy. We had that guy, and we actually sent him to school to Harris's factory, the Harris radio factory.
Okay.
And he got 3 weeks of he came back MacGyver, I'm pretty sure. And so we're at this range, we're at Sicily drop zone, pouring down rain, and we find a black Connex, right, container. And he picks the lock on this thing, and we break into it. It's empty. And our whole platoon packs in there like sardines, head, foot. And we just rack out for like 12 hours, like the whole platoon. No one's pulling radio guard, nothing, just done. Just snoring. It was great. We're dry. And the next morning, like the sun starts beaming through. We're like, what's that light? And we do a radio check, and like nobody cared. Like nobody even like batted an eye that we've been off the net for like 10 hours.
Damn.
A whole platoon. And so we scatter about, and we put our ghillie suits on, all that stuff, and we go scatter about to fan around this village and do our drawings and stuff. And it's still raining. And it's like, this sucks. Like we get the drawings done. This is stupid. You can't. The guys, the Op 4 is not even walking around because it's raining. They don't want to be out there.
Right.
And so we moved back, and we used to have Motorola, our own little personal Motorola radios, because the Army ones were terrible out there in the rain. And we found a rain shack for the squad live fire lanes, and no one was there. So we picked the lock, and we get in this shack. This is like a 30 by 30 building. And we take all of our good stuff, we're hanging them out to dry. And we're just chilling. We hit bam, bam, bam on the door. We're like, oh crap, we're in trouble. Now we're getting it. And it's our Lieutenant Ivan Castro. And he's like, what are y'all doing? We're like, we're drying off. He's like, and y'all didn't call me? Y'all suck. Like, let me. So we let him in, and we're hanging out, and everyone's just kind of BSing. He's like, hey, y'all hungry? We're like, yeah, I'm hungry. So, y'all want some KFC? I'm like, sure, I'll play along. Sure, I'll take KFC. And so, all right, how many guys we got? 19 guys. All right, what's the grid? I'm like, no way. This is spring of 2006. He pulls out a freaking like flip phone T9 texting, right? And starts texting his wife, KFC for 19 guys at Papa uniform 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It sends her the 8-digit grid and hits send. And we're like, I'm calling bullshit on this one right quick. I'm on the bullshit side that this is not going to happen, And about an hour later, this little Puerto Rican woman, his wife, is running across the woods with these 2 huge KFC bags, like, and she like drops them off and runs off. We're like, go get the food. So we ran out there and get the food. And then that night, we crushed that KFC, crushed it, and we're like burying the evidence. Well, that night, the other units are getting helicoptered in. So this LZ we had to mark off. And our job was to lead them through the woods to raid this village we're supposed to be watching. And as the helicopters are coming in, like, we're dry, our uniforms are clean, and they look like they've been to like Vietnam. Like it looked awful. And they're coming off the helicopters like, why are y'all dry? Don't worry about it. Just keep going. Like, why do y'all smell like chicken? Shut up. Just keep going. Just keep going.
You got to mark the LZs with the chicken bones or what?
Oh man, that whole thing was done, and our battalion commander was doing the AAR afterwards, and we're standing in the back, and he's like, scouts, what'd y'all do? I'm like, sir, if you don't know where we were at, then we were doing our job. Thanks. I was like, I hate y'all.
That's how you gotta tell them, man. Just keep it the same. That's wild though, man. That's a good time. So you'll never forget that. Always be able to tell that story, and everyone will get a laugh that was part of it. And I was laughing too. So that's definitely funny, dude. And you called in support, man. You called in the FRG group. The family group. You had to call the family out there.
It was great.
That's not bad, dude.
A picture of Ivan carrying KFC is actually in his book. It's pretty funny. I'm like, yes, it made his book.
Damn. That's what's up, though, man. That's a good one. What so talk a little bit about all those deployments that you went on, if you don't mind. Like, what was your mindset? Obviously, you said you wanted to join the military to blow stuff up, shoot guns, and do. So you didn't probably mind going overseas. Obviously, you were in school during 9/11, but what was the mindset and what was like the tempo and everything like once you guys got overseas, for the first time?
Yeah, for me, it was kind of the main reason I joined was I didn't want to be a granddad and have my grandkids in my lap and tell them, hey, Grandpa, what'd you do in the war? Oh, let me tell you, I was putting these stickers on these T-shirts with these prices on them. They're $19.99, and every now and then it was $29.99. Like, I just didn't want that to be my story to my kids, or my grandkids, and so I went to Afghanistan in 2005. Our job was to secure voting places for the first ever elections, and not really like going to the woods and the mountains and stuff to fight the Taliban, even though we accidentally crossed into Pakistan because GPSs and the border there's not recognized by anything. There's no border. It's just a mountain. You're like,
imaginary
Pakistan?
line.
Afghanistan. Yeah. Like GPS, like, let's stay on this side and not start an international issue. It was crazy. We logged a lot of miles, drove a lot. I looking back it's funny. My favorite thing about at least 2005 was the resiliency of like the guys we were around and like the figure it out mindset. We had Humvees that were like 6 different colors back then.
Damn. No armor, right? 2005, yeah. Probably like no up armor sand.
Yeah. They had like these. They drilled these holes in the side and put these big bolts and little collars on them, and then mounted metal. That was our armor.
Right.
It wasn't like the armor that it became, obviously, later on. And we lived like gypsies.
Mad Max, something like that.
A ratchet strap was like the golden ticket because it held everything on. All of our all the ammo was in the back of the truck, whatever, and all of our rucksacks were on the truck, on the back, strapped down.
Right.
And so we lived, out in the boonies, the Logar province, a little village called Puli Olam. And it was way out there. And our nearest, our QRF response was like 2 hours. Wow. So for ground vehicles, we get air faster. But it was just a great group of guys to be around. And we were all like understood, like, if any of us drop the ball, we're dead. Because like we are our own security. There's like 50 of us out there. We had some, it was a platoon plus, and it was a lot of fun. But 2006 was probably the when it got real. We went to Iraq, and we were attached to a special ops unit, and our job was just to go piss off the hornet's nest, basically. So we did 19 battalion level air assault missions.
Wow.
Which is about 40 aircraft, and it was awesome. We were at Fob Spiker or Camp Spiker, whatever people want to call it, and we would shut down the whole road, and like 40 helicopters would land and just take over the entire base, and we'd all run on these helicopters, and we'd fly across somewhere else in Iraq, south of Baghdad. If you know the map, Spiker's way up north, and Baghdad's way down there. So we're going all over the place, and we get off, a whole bunch of different LZs, and we would literally just kick in doors all over Iraq, trying to get somebody to run, basically. And it was pretty cool. We got in firefights more than I can recount. My journal, I think I have like 83 fights that I got in my journal. But it was literally like, if you're in the infantry at all, what we were doing is why you joined.
Right.
Was we weren't out there. We had dedicated air support. We had dedicated Apaches, dedicated C-130 Spectre gunships. We had everything, and we blew up a lot of stuff, and it was awesome. And then there's the flip side of it where guys get hurt, and that sucks. But luckily for us, direct contact only the entire battalion. One guy got shot and killed, and then we had one terrible day where mortar rounds took out our whole mortar platoon. Like, it was a direct hit. And then the mortar the next day that hit Ivan and killed 2 of our guys. So
they killed a whole platoon in one day with mortar?
They killed 1 and wounded 9.
Oh, damn.
But it directly hit our guns. So we had 0 counter mortar capability.
Wow.
So all of our 81s were taken out, and then the 60s were damaged as well. So we had
daytime or night?
It was like 1 in the afternoon. So it was it was the first shot too. It wasn't even like a bracket. It was like, how the hell did y'all do that from a moving truck? That's actually impressive. So
usually it's way off, but they don't have no good aim. Sometimes they hit, I guess.
It was just a red pickup truck, and just drove by and propped it up and fired it and freaking nailed it. We're like, okay, we're pissed, but kind of impressed at the same time, and I mean, we annihilated that truck, but afterwards,
Right.
but it was the sad deal in that, and the chaos of a mass casualty is the worst thing in the world. But it was the deployment as a whole, though, is interesting because that group of guys, that particular deployment, like my platoon, there were 33 of us, and we have a group text to this day. And we've been going on now, what is that, 16 years, and it's not G-rated. It's pretty awful.
Triple
But
X, dude.
yeah, but it's our community, and
Right.
it's our safe place, and we're the only ones that really get ourselves and all that. So it's just we've grown up, and people have been married, people have been divorced, had kids, all this stuff, and gotten jobs and struggle, and so it's like life happened, obviously. But it's interesting it's great to, we always go back to that. We went to our platoon sergeant at that time, ended up being the 3-corps sergeant major, and so we all showed up to his retirement ceremony at Fort what's it called? It's Cavazos now. Hood, what it used to be.
Yeah.
And so we all showed up in Hawaiian shirts at his formal retirement party on base. So there's all these generals and super senior enlisted members, and there's all of us with beards and Hawaiian shirts, and he's like, I can't take y'all anywhere. So
hey, man, that's what happens when you get out of the military. You do what you can do what you want, man.
But it was great. He made us stand up in his speech. He's like, and these hooligans showed up, which means a lot. We've been to the thick of it back in the day. So it's a bond that's hard to describe. And we're not special, and that we're the only ones that have that. There's every platoon or unit, if you suffer together, you bond. And that's kind of the foundation of it. So we've got a really unique, and Ivan's injury, obviously getting blinded, and half our guys were the ones that saved his life, was cool. But Ivan telling the Army to F off, and I'm not getting out, even though I have no eyes in my skull. And he served, I think, 10, 11 more years blind. Just kind of like became our rallying cry of like, we have no excuse to not succeed in whatever we're doing. If Ivan's blind, still serving, took command, and ran 80 something marathons blind, and rode a bicycle from San Francisco to Virginia Beach, and hiked the Appalachian Trail, and then his culminating event, he hiked to the South Pole with Prince Harry. And so we had this, this figure of like, the embodiment of I'll never quit, and so all of us we have this bond of I'll never leave a fallen comrade, and then he's going out there doing that. So it's just really kind of pushed all of us in everything we're doing as far as school. I mean, we had a platoon, like our average GT score of our platoon was 112, which is high. People think infantry guys are dumb, but we had a very smart group of guys, and the result of post his injury, gosh, what it was. I looked at the picture. I think there's like 6 guys went to Ranger School and completed it. There's 7 Green Berets. There's an FBI agent. There's a CAG operator. There's one guy crossed over to be a pilot. One became a UAV pilot. I went to be an officer. I mean, it's just everybody's got degrees. It's like people think the infantry is dumb. I'm like, you didn't see my platoon, because we were stacked with stuff. And but it all comes, I think it greatly stems from Ivan, and like we don't have an excuse, and I think that's a big thing for people is it's easy to make an excuse. It's easy to blame or whatever. And it's like, man, this dude is in the Army. He's the commander of special operations recruiting. He's the only blind guy ever to go to the maneuver career course and pass. And it's like me saying that my math class is hard is not going to go over well, in the group.
That's
text.
true, though.
So,
no, that's true. That puts it in perspective, though. If you have someone accomplishing so much and it's been through so much more pain, physical, mental, emotional, then you're like, damn, man, I don't have any excuses. At least I can't say it to him. He's gonna say like, come on now. So what made you kind of join to the OCS side? Was it kind of Ivan and everything that you guys were
Yeah,
Going to
just kind
push
of
harder?
his example definitely was there of like I was always told like Travis, why are you on this side of the fence? Like I get it, you're a go getter, and I like to get things done. And I was like, well, I don't I do better if I'm the number two, as I like to say. You know, I would have been a really I personally think I would have been a really good first sergeant. You know, is you give the directives, I'll make sure it happens. You know, that's kind of, and I found out about the XO position. That's kind of what it was. But my wife at the time figured out how to read the pay chart. She's like, well, "What are we doing over here? These numbers are way bigger on top." And so I was like, "Well,
That's
okay,
fair.
fine." So I crossed over, went to OCS. I was a recruiter at the time and finished my degree and applied and got accepted and whatever in the Army's way of doing things. They said, "All right, you're infantry for 9 years. All right, cool. Logistics." I was like, "What?"
Figure that. Yeah.
So, so I was actually an ordnance originally, and it all joins to LG. But so went there and got assigned to Fort Sill in the HIMARS unit there, and that was like an eye opener, like nothing else. Getting into because I've never even been in a motor pool up to that point. I was 10 years in the Army, never even saw a motor pool. And I mean, I saw them, but never,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we're airborne infantry. We don't do that. So
Right.
it was weird to get there and like be part of the maintenance process. I was like, oh my God. So I became the maintenance PL and just had a whole different challenge of things and different issues I never had before. So that was pretty cool. And became an XO of the company. That was a fun little period of time, and then became the S4. But in between all that, we went to Dubai. As like I said, we're a pawn in the game of war. When you have long range artillery, you're a pawn. So
Camp Red Leg?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there. I worked there as a contractor 2019.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
I was there when we were the second unit there in 2013. So
Okay.
I'm sure the air conditioners and tents are still a problem.
No, they shut that place down, man, a couple of years ago. I think they
Yeah,
closed it down, but yeah, they still
it's freaking hot. So
close to downtown city. I guess you get to get off and do a little R&R, chill out. But
Yeah.
what you think of Dubai and everything? Was it all right for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like the Army is really good at taking anything fun and making it terrible. So it's like, it's like, oh, you can go to town, but you must fill out this 85-page thing. What you're going to do, where you're going to be. I'm like, well, I just don't want to go now,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we had to do all this stuff. You had to be in groups of 5 at all times, and I'm like, I am 6'4", 220, bald and white as can be. I promise you, I can't hide in this country. It's just not going to happen. Like I'm not going to go anywhere. Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm a walking beacon in this country. So but it was. I went to Hard Rock, went to the Dubai Mall. Just it's cool to say you did it, but
Yeah.
crap is so expensive there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and back then I remember seeing like an 82-inch TV. I was like, oh my God, that's the biggest you've ever seen. And now you can go to Walmart and get the same thing. So it's
$300. Yeah.
yeah. And people went to Ferrari World. I never went to all that. I was I actually read I think 17 books during that deployment.
There you go.
So that was kind of my thing as an officer. It was lonely. That was the weirdest thing is how lonely it is to be the PL. Like
That's
for
true. You only
me,
got
I always go ahead.
I was gonna say you only have like a couple other platoon leaders and like the XO and the company commander. You don't really have a big group that you could select and choose from to get along with.
Yeah,
It's not like being in a platoon.
it is. It's really weird. I'm much older than all these guys. I mean, at the time I crossed over when I was 30. So
Okay.
we're 30, 32. And so most lieutenants, there's second lieutenants are 22, 23. So I'm like a decade older than all of them. So they're all into TikTok and other shenanigans and partying. And I'm like, I got a wife and 2 kids, man. Like, what the crap? So this is just, just different phases of life. So that the officer side was kind of weird, but I was a driver for my PL in Afghanistan. So we had great times. I'm older at the end. I'm 25 at the time, and he's 27. So we were on the same phase of life.
Right.
We could talk because plus you spend hours in the truck, you talk, and so it was really weird being a lieutenant and like Joe, just not like you walk up to him like, what? I was doing my homework. It's like I'm just saying hi, calm down. Like, I just want to walk. So it was just it was weird. That was probably the weirdest part of the crossover was like Joe just not wanting to interact. But it was still fun. And then, yeah, we got back from that, and the Army sends you off to the career course quickly. And I found out the career course, I'm like, oh man, I'm in trouble because I've never been to Korea. So my patch chart at the time was I think I've not been deployed at the time for I think it was like 38 months. You know, I hadn't reset it. So I was like, I'm getting orders out of here to go to Korea. No doubt. And talked to my branch manager, and she was like, "Yeah, you're probably going. Yeah, it's probably gonna happen." I'm like, oh crap! So I volunteered for the old guard.
Okay.
So I was giving it a shot. I'm tall, and it's so funny. You know how you do letters of recommendation, right? And
Yeah.
somebody gives you one that it's pretty generic, and you submit it because the packet requires it. You never know. Let's see what happens. Well, just my luck. The guy that I picked to do my letter of rec went to school with the guy who was hiring me at the place. So he called him directly and said, "Hey, I know we all do letters of rec, and we don't want to say, I don't want to recommend, but like, give me the true story. Would you hire this guy?" And I know this because he told me that he did this. He's like, "Hey, if Travis is applying for your unit, I'll tell you this. It's like he will find problems that you didn't know you had, and he'll solve them." And I had orders the next week, and so I finished the career course and went up to DC, and the best 3+ years of my life started. It was the greatest assignment I've ever been on. And, deploying infantry stuff was great, but the old guard is just a place that if you ever get the chance to go there, it is freaking phenomenal. And the uniforms, the marching, the testing, and the requirements and stuff is brutal. I mean, to do a 70-minute standard attention in full dress is brutal. It is your toes go numb. And getting precision on your saber to have it exactly 6 inches off the ground when you do salute and all this stuff it's a lot of standards, but it's kind of what we all think the Army should be as far as upholding a standard. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. And I had problems there. I was the S4 that they don't teach in the schoolhouse. I'll tell you that right now. Is they get there and my commander's like, "Hey, we have a problem with the horse feed. Figure it out." And I'm like, "What? It's not in the freaking manual." Like horse feed. Yeah. What the? So hold on a minute. And get there, and so I wrote 9 Army contracts, for horse feed, for horseshoes, for hay, for borium rods, for all this stuff, and for new horses, and because the horses were stupid old. But my favorite thing there ever was we had a wagon, they're wooden wagon wheels, and they have all those spokes in them.
Yeah.
Well, 2 of those spokes broke during a funeral, and they're able to get it back, which was great. And they're like, "Hey, we got to fix this wheel." I'm like, "Oh crap, this is gonna be a problem." So I'm like exhausting Google the best I can to find wagon wheel repair, right? Because it's not real high on the results. I'll tell you right now. But I found a guy in Oregon that could do it, and it was like $3,000 a wheel plus shipping. I was like, "Man, we're gonna go broke if we do this." And I told my commander, I was like, "Hey, do you trust me?" And he's like, "Oh, it's never a good question to ask." I'm like, "Sir, I promise you, I'll never do anything illegal, immoral, or unethical." I was like, "But it may be highly questionable." He's like, "I can do that. I can deal with that." I was like, "Yes." So I go back to my supply clerk. I was like, "All right, here's what you're gonna do. Take this truck. It's a government truck. Put the wheel in the back. You and so drive north. You go to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania." I was like, "You're gonna just drive to the edge of town, the last gas station you can, sit there, go inside, get a Coke, get some candy, and just hang out. I promise you, in less than 30 minutes, some Amish guy's gonna come by on a buggy." I said, "Flag him down." I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "So you're crazy, right?" I'm like, I promise you. I promise you it'll happen." And literally verbatim, that's exactly what happened. They went and bought a Pepsi, a pack of Skittles. And this Amish guy, he flagged him down. And he said, "Hey, we have a wagon wheel," and showed it to him. Like, you know anybody can repair one? I said, I promise you, you're 1 degree from the solution. If it's not him, he knows exactly who it is. He's like, oh yeah, go to see Jacob. And gave him the directions down the road. So we drove down the road. They dropped this wagon wheel off. Said, hey, when you're done, take it back to that gas station, leave it there, and they'll pay you. We'll pay them. Blah 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 blah. And so we get a call 10 days later. Say, hey, your wheel's here. You know, so I go to GFibs and Army's accounting, set it all up, and we swap our credit card at that gas station. He pays the Amish guy in cash. And we went and picked it up, dropped another wheel off. And we had 32 wheels, and we kept doing this. Just drop one off, pick one up, drop one off, pick one up. I get a phone call from the MIC, which is the military contracting center, whatever it is. And they're the ones that control the credit cards. And said, hey, you have the same exact charge 7 times in a row. I'm like, yeah. Like, you have to get a contract for that. And I'm like, I can't. Like, why? I was like, they're not U.S. citizens. And it's just like, what? I was like, the Amish are doing our repairs. We have to pay this gas station who has a repair shop in the back of it, and he's paying them cash. And she's like, I was like, I'm saving the government like $87,000 by doing this. And the wheels are better. She's like, you're good. Keep going. No one better than I am. So we got all the wheels repaired. And my commander's like, all right, well played. That's pretty good. You know, so it was pretty funny.
So what happened after you left? They still doing business like that, or what?
I have no idea. I don't know if anybody's ballsy enough to do it. I kind of live the, what's that Brad Pitt character from Inglourious Bastards? It's like, I've been shot out before. You know, it's kind of like that. I'll just kind of live on that mindset. No, I left there. I got selected to go to command, which was blew my mind that my first command and my only command was going to be in the old guard and in an infantry unit at that. And so I got to do that. And then, when you do inventories, the commander comes through and does all the stuff, right? Well, I was doing inventories. And I had under my command was the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and the U.S. Army drill team. So I'm down there in the tomb quarters, and I see the pistols they have. They have these really pretty Beretta, M9s. And I said, hey, has anybody talked to SIG? And they're like, what are you talking about? I said, well, the Army has the M17. This is 2018. The SIG just got approved in 2016 to be fielded in 17 to 27. And like, what? I was like, it's brown. The pistol's brown. And they're like, oh, we'll never carry that. I'm like, never mind. I'll take care of it. So I left. I took command and immediately sent an email to the Sig Sauer contact us page. Said, hey, this is who I am. I'm the commander here, blah, 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 blah. I was like, is there any way that when you field these to the old guard, 2 of them can be painted black? Just because otherwise we'll never carry them. Because the brown will look stupid with the Army blue uniform. And the next day, I got a phone call on my cell phone from the CEO of SIG.
Oh, damn.
And he's like, hey, Travis, this is who I am. We can do better than just black. And I have on the speakerphone I have my director of operations, my lead designer, and my legal team. We don't care what it costs. We're donate it all for free, but we can do better than black. I was like, okay. And that kickstarted the funnest 9 months of my entire life. We flew all those people down. They saw the tomb, did a walk around, and then we sat down afterwards and had a phenomenal conversation of just kind of ideas and what can we do. And so we started this process to design a gun that somehow showed the history of 100 years of the tomb. And so we took actually I have this. So this is one of the original CAD drawings. Oh, okay. And
nice.
So I've got to blow up. So anyways, but the problem was the M17's got a plastic frame. So first thing we said, can y'all make a metal frame? So they did. They made an aluminum frame for the gun. And then we were able to go to the USS Olympia, which is the ship that carried the unknown body from France to the U.S. after World War One.
Okay.
And it's the only ship left from World War One. It's in the harbor in Philadelphia. You can visit today. And the curator there donated a plank of wood from that ship. Oh, nice. And we took that plank of wood, cut it down, all this stuff. And the wooden grips on that gun are that ship. And then there's medallions. So if you look at these medallions right here, it's the tomb badge. And on one side, it's the regimental crest on the other. So there were these coins back then They melted down the propellers when they decommissioned the ship, and they had these like silver dollar sized coins you could buy at the gift shop. Well, we got some of those coins, melted them down, and then stamped out these medallions. So when you hold that gun, you are literally holding the propeller and the deck of that ship in your hand.
That's
And it's,
badass.
and then we incorporated, instead of slanted slide serration, that's hard to say. We put XXI for 21 because everything at the tomb is done in 21s and 21 steps, 21 seconds, all that stuff. So we put that on there. The serial numbers are all 21. But my favorite thing about the entire gun is the sight plate. So in 1998, they pulled out the body of the Vietnam unknown and they identified it through DNA testing of Lieutenant Blassie of the Air Force. Well, when they put the cover back on his crypt, they did this big apparatus, like a router for marble, and they routed this phrase into it, right? And well, when you router, there's sawdust or offput, right? Well, the guards in the middle of the night swept up all that marble dust, and they gave everybody in the platoon a little Ziploc bag of marble dust, which is the coolest thing ever, as far as keepsakes. And I got a hold of a guy. He gave me a quarter of a teaspoon of his dust. We sent it to a company in New York, a glass company, and they superheated this piece of glass into a gel. They poured the dust into it, and they massaged it together like putty, and then they rolled it out like pencil lead. And then on the sights, the rear sights, the two white dots, they took a drill and they bored out those holes, and they twisted that still hot lead or pencil glass into the holes and then cut it off. So when you raise the sights to aim with this gun, if you're looking down on them, the whites you see on the rear sights, the whitish gray is the actual tomb encased in glass. So it was that, and we polished it. There's a whole lot more to it. I'm actually writing a book about it. There's so much behind the scenes, but it was the coolest thing to be a part of, and get to forever say, I got to design this pistol, with them, and a lot of it was, humbly try to be at least my idea, but it was really, really cool. And my kids, man. My kids getting to be old and stuff. I mean, that gun will be there forever. So,
right. No, that's pretty cool. Do you think being such a big gun enthusiast, that was kind of the like your starter to say, let me call it sick.
Absolutely.
Some people would be like, I don't even know who has a pistol and contract in the Army, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I follow that stuff too. Yeah, I definitely follow the like most of my career was following the never ending process to get a new pistol, because they had this like 6-year trial thing. Every gun maker could submit a gun, and then Glock didn't like it, and they contested it anyway. It was a big mess. But following that stuff, being knowledgeable about it helped. Sending the email though is like, I've always lived by the old Wayne Gretzky phrase, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Heck yeah.
And I've kind of tweaked that for myself. I'm like, 100% of the questions you don't ask, the answer is no.
That's true.
And so I'm always like, I'll ask. Like, it doesn't hurt me to send an email. Like, who cares? They can ignore it. They can delete it. They can respond and say no, whatever it is. But I have to ask. I can say, well, I did this, and so I've kind of always fired questions fearlessly, is what I would say.
Yeah, the worst thing you're gonna do, like you said, not gonna answer, gonna say no, or they're gonna help you out or tell you someone else that can help you. So I'm the same way, man. I live by that too. So what was the hardest part of the old guard, minus staying at attention after 70 minutes? What do you think?
Man, honestly, keeping it together.
Keeping it together.
Says, like, I did very few funerals. I was on staff and stuff, and it's the one I guess regret was I didn't get to do or didn't do as many of those as I wanted to. I had a double hernia when I got there, so I couldn't wear the uniform for a little while. So I missed some time, and that time was getting to go in the cemetery more, and kind of be a part of someone else's grieving moment. It's a humbling place. If you've never been to Arlington, man, I encourage anybody who listens to your show to make that trip. It is worth it to walk those grounds and just see white and gray headstones as far as you can see. It is humbling. And but to be in some some funerals that were, just unique. I wasn't in the actual marching party, but to be off the distance, like John Glenn's funeral, I got to stand off to the side for that. Like, when else can you do that? Early, or Arlie, God darn it, the guy from the Marine everybody knows, Arlie Emerson, what's his last name? The guy from, oh my gosh, my brain just stopped. Everybody knows him from the
Arlie Ernie Emery.
Yeah, the guy, choke yourself, not with your hand, with my hand.
The drill instructor. Yeah.
So, like, I mean, he's earlier. I'm thinking my brain was not working there. Getting to the same thing, getting to watch his funeral, and to see a bunch of grown Marines just hurting, like, because he embodiment that the spirit of being a Marine, and that stuff's just great to just to see and be a part of, and like, you just take pride in what you're doing, and I loved it. I got to meet the president, got to meet the vice president, got to meet Secretary of Defense, Mad Dog, and I was like, man, you are freaking short. Holy crap. You are, I mean, super short, and I was not prepared for that, but actually it's pretty crazy. So if I can hold it together and tell a story, I'll try. So it's Memorial Day weekend, 2018, and we're doing Flags In, where we put a little stick flag at every single grave in the cemetery. And I get a phone call from my commander, the full bird. He said, hey, I need you to go to section 60 right now. I was like, okay. So I like haul butt across the entire cemetery to get section 60s where all the GWAT predominantly are buried. And I get there and there's like nobody there. I see off in the distance, like General, I forgot what his name now, was putting some flags, but not a lot going on. So I know my friends from 2007 that got killed are all right here in a row. So I found their rows. I put quarters on their grave, and just kind of standing there having a moment. Well, this lady walks up and she's like, did you know Jonathan? And I was like, or Michael, sorry. I was like, yeah. I was like, I was there when he died, and actually held his hand as he died. And she was like, I'm his mom. I was like, oh my gosh, and that's his sister. I was like, okay, now I'm gonna cry. Dadgummit. And all three of us just bawled, and had a great moment of time just to kind of close that loop of pain, and took a picture with her and stuff. I text her every year. Anytime I'm in town, I go have lunch with her and stuff. It's pretty cool. But she I walked away, and Senator Tom Cotton had showed up, and he's like, hey, Womack. He's like, who's that? Do you know them? I was like, I told him the story. He's like, dude. It's like, how are you holding it together? I'm like, I don't know. And I should be crying right now. And then my boss walks up, and then like all this press show up. I'm like, what the crap is going on? He's like, oh, the vice president's on his way. I'm like, what the crap? Is like, yeah, it's my fault. And I told him at lunch that I'm going to come over here and put flags in. He should come. He said, okay, I'll be there. And so we're doing an impromptu vice president laying flags. It's like, awesome. And so I'm just standing there BSing with my boss and Senator Tom Cotton, and all of a sudden the vice president's limo shows up, and I have flags in my hands. Oh, cool! You're gonna escort the vice president and give him flags to put in the ground. I'm like, cool. And so he walks up, shake his hand, and then my boss, who heard the story about my friend, introduces me to the vice president, and saying, oh, this place is humbling, sir. And actually, Travis here has a story he'd love to share you about that just recently happened. I'm like, I'm not in any condition to tell this story right now. Like, good God. So I tell the story. I said, she's right over there, and she's kind of like, what's going on? And we lay all these flags, there's all these pictures of me handing them flags, which is really cool. I mean, we're all prideful a little bit, and I can admit that. It's kind of awesome just to walk with him, and Pence is a pretty neat guy to talk to, actually. And then he's done. He goes, talks to my friend's mom and sister, talks to them for a minute, and then leaves. And I was like, my mom and dad are never going to believe this. This is the craziest day of my career. And then like a week later, I get an email from the public affairs person with all these pictures. I'm like, thanks for that. That's awfully kind of you. So it was pretty cool.
It's a wild day, dude.
It was wild. There was that. And then that was on Friday. And then on Monday, Memorial Day, I get a phone call at like 12:30 at night, and it's the guy I replaced in command. He's like, "Hey, POTUS is coming down tomorrow." I'm like, "I'm aware. it's Memorial Day. He's like, no, he's coming down to the quarters. I'm like, what? This has never happened. So I get to work at 3 in the morning anyways. And I'm down the quarters with the tomb guards, and they have a logbook of every single guard change since 1938.
Okay.
And so we're going through all these logbooks every Memorial Day. And like, to our knowledge, no president has ever come down underground into the quarters, except for Reagan did it in the middle of the night with him and one Secret Service agent. Like, put on his baseball hat and a jacket, came by and said hi and left, brought pizza and left, which was really cool, by the way. And so we're kind of like on pins and needles. President does the wreath, does a little speech. And then the A team, as I call the Secret Service A team, like they showed up. You're like, holy crap, y'all are legit. Like there's Secret Service everywhere. You're like, okay, y'all are pretty good. And then the A team are like, oh, yeah, there's a difference. There's a JV and a varsity. I can tell. Holy crap! These guys were intense, and they came in, got to shake his hand, and it was really funny though because we have that logbook, and it's, this place is just perfect. It's just perfect. I do a horrible Trump, but he right, like Mr. President, to our knowledge, we looked through all the logbooks. No president other than Reagan's ever even been down here. But never, ever on Memorial Day. We'd be honored if you would sign the logbook, that you were here. He's like, okay, sure. And so we give him like those big old fat Sharpies, with a slanted tip. And he's like, he holds it. He's like, can I cuss or not on the show? Okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
He's like, it's a big fucking pen. He's like, let's sign it presidentially. Like, okay. So he's like, it was like normal ruler paper, and he signed it. It was like 9 lines. It was
sounds awesome. About right. Fat Sharpie 9-line signature. Good.
It was awesome. He walked off. I'm like, damn it, no one's gonna believe us. I'll take a picture of that. So it was actually, I think I have that here. I'll see if this works for you. You'll appreciate this.
And they hating on that. They hating on Trump, man, but he's the only one trying to make a difference.
It was the humor in it. I didn't really care who it was. It was just does that come through?
Yep.
I mean, it's like, okay, we found the signature.
Yeah, look at like 15 signatures. It's like 5 signatures, same as his.
It was so funny. Let's see. Here we go. Here's let's see if I can get that to come through here. That was. Oh, there we go.
Who's that unbearded fellow?
This is.
So that's you. That's you right there.
Yeah. That's me. That's Tom you. Cotton, Trump, and that's the Secret Service guy. My favorite part about the Secret Service guy is he is eyeballing. I mean, he is like, I will kill you.
He is too.
I was like, man, calm down. So
trying to grill you from a mile away, dude. What did you get out of the Army from the old guard?
No. So I left there, followed my boss to the Pentagon. I was the only captain trying to get in the Pentagon. And got assigned to the Army Talent Management Task Force, which is great. Changing the Army, how we do assignments and assessments and stuff. And I was just a very hardworking captain, soon to be major. And then I ran our website, ran the Army's podcast, for all that. And this is where I got into podcasting. Actually, was doing that. And I wasn't the host. I was just kind of the administrator for it all. And kind of crazy because COVID hit. So March 13th, 2020 hits. And that's the last day I put on a uniform. And I was at work in the Pentagon, and I was like, the person above me, the person above them, the person above them are not here. The next person above them is the Secretary of Defense. I'm going home. So I was like, there's no reason for me to be here. All 4 bosses above me are gone. And I went home around like 11 o'clock that day, got an Uber, and then, the whole world stopped. And then I teleworked every day after that. I retired in July of 23. So over 3 years of telework for me. And
how was that?
Well, I mean, for me, it was great because I ran a website, so I didn't need to be anywhere.
Right.
I ran a podcast, and then I did graphic design, and I did our public affairs. I wrote stories and stuff. And so like none of that required me to be in the office.
Right.
I just need to be
like not being around anybody. Like, how'd you like that?
Well, it worked for what I was doing. I think some people use telework as the excuse to not interact.
Yeah.
I use it as an excuse to have candid interaction. So if you
Right.
do a Teams call one-on-one or a Zoom call one-on-one or whatever, like you have candid, quickly conversation. And so
Right.
my boss, she was like, so your output has like quadrupled. And I'm like, yeah. In a cubicle, everybody walks by constantly, 10,000 things. Like my monitor's 32 inches, so I could be on a call, my camera off over here on one side, and I'm just an attendee in a meeting that doesn't really matter to me. But on the right side, I'm still working, you know,
That's true. Yeah.
I'm still doing stuff. If I'm in the room, I'm just sitting there being like, don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep, because no one wants to
Yeah.
hear what I have to say. And they did it. They're actually really great people. But so that was kind of weird. And then I was getting divorced, and my ex-wife moved to Texas, and I told my son is severely autistic, and he stayed with me. I told my boss, like, hey, we got a problem. It's like I can't. There's no way I can come into work now. And I know a lot of people were starting to kind of migrate back to the office, and I was like, we're about to have a problem because I'm like 15 months from retirement, and I'm incapable of having a family care plan with my son. And so we got to find a solution. He's like, I gotcha. And so through about a 6-week process of talking, there was a Zoom call between me, the G1 of the Army at the time, and my boss. And what they ended up doing was they created a UIC just for me.
Wow.
And it was my house right here that I'm in right now, here in Dallas. And they created a UIC, and then I got orders to PCS from where I was at to this UIC. And I long distance telework from Dallas to the Pentagon for the last 15 months of my career.
So Fort Couch is actually a possibility that could happen
It was
for the right
yeah.
person.
It's
It was
Fort,
a real
Fort
thing. It's
living
a real
room.
thing.
Fort living room was real. So
Damn.
it was great. And I mean I shaved. That's but the only thing I did differently. I mean I'd wear this, and I didn't. The only time I put my uniform on from March 13th, 2020 till I retired, I put it on 4 times. I put it on for my 2 COVID shots. I had to go into the building to get them. And then I put it on for dog tag and ID card check.
Yeah.
and
Okay.
and then I put it on for my promotion to major. That was it. 4 times in 3 years that I put a uniform on.
Wow.
It
That's
was.
wild. That's wild.
I'm like a walking anomaly. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah. You go from the old guard to not wearing, getting your uniform checked a million times a day. It's like the
Exactly.
craziest like paradigm shift to a different uniform. Like that's wild.
Yeah, my old guard buddies are like, what the crap?
For real, dude. What did you ever think you were gonna do 20 years when you first joined? Like
No, not at all. I was all about doing the 5 and getting out and just saying I did it. And then one thing leads to the next, and I re-enlisted in Afghanistan. They dangled money in front of me, and I was in debt, and that's all it takes.
yeah.
And then I got married, and my wife at the time, TRICARE was really good insurance for her, as far as she was a diabetic, and so it was like, well, now I have somebody to take care of, so that drives the reason I need a stability. And then I went to become an officer, and it's like, well, if we're going to do that, then let's just commit to it longer. And then I did the TA stuff and got my master's degree as well. And so I had 2 degrees Army's paid for, which anybody stays in for more than 5 years and doesn't have a degree, I want to punch them. It's like, you're wasting so much money. And so this one thing led to the next, and it was never the intent. I think most people don't ever join with the intent of 20. Maybe some do, but there's just a lot of benefits, and people that aren't informed. I think saying uneducated is wrong. They're not informed of the true benefits that are there and the magnitude of them that are there. This kind of happened that, and as I got to closer to 17, 18 years, 19 years, my body started telling me, we're not going past 20. So,
Yeah.
I had massive surgery. I got a pretty good scar over here on my neck, had a neck fusion, and this injuries from being young in infantry and being like, oh, I don't need this arm. It's
Right.
good, and they get to be, almost 40 years old. And I'm like, man, that arm would come in really handy right now, and so it's just kind of all those things kind of start to add up, and the beating the miles. So it's been good. The transition of it was probably the weirdest part. Just I wish the Army or just the DoD in general would put more focus on educating earlier, because Civil
Yeah.
Tap or whatever are great things, but the time required to really do it is hard to come by. And
That's true.
I did a skill bridge, and there's all
Okay.
these companies. Everybody wants to do, Amazon or Boeing or whatever, pick up a big company and go do this stuff. And I was like, well, I'm I'm here with my son. I'm kind of stuck in a weird spot. So my parents have their own company.
Okay.
It's a livestock company. So we fill out the paperwork. You can apply. People don't realize you can do this. It's like 6
Yep.
pages. I applied for a program that's not pre-approved, and here's the owner, and here's what I'm going to do. And my job was wildlife management. And I filled out the stuff. My job is basically to kill coyotes and goats, or coyotes and hogs. Sorry,
Okay.
and protect the goats. And that's what it was. So I did my 12-week skill bridge, going all over my family's land on the government's dime, which was perfectly legit and legal. And my job was to protect wildlife, our livestock. And I killed
Yeah.
a whole bunch of pigs and a whole bunch of coyotes. And
Damn.
and I got done with that and went on leave, and then continued to do the same thing. But I think there's people that need to understand that skill bridge is a powerful tool. And if you have any idea, I mean, good gosh, you can go get a 18-wheeler, is it CDL license,
Yeah.
and the Army will pay for it. And
Oh yeah.
and it's just, I think the hardest thing with people transitioning is kind of over exaggerating what we did, like,
Yeah.
like they put on their resume, like, I led the invasion of Iraq. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, you're 19 years old and a private. Like, you didn't lead the invasion to Iraq. Like, yes, you were in the unit. Okay, so you were in first ID, maybe. Let's just go with that. They were the quote unquote tip of the spear. I was like, if you really want to be technical, the tip of the spear is a JTAC. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a whatever, but it's just I took part in, or I participated in the invasion of Iraq. The words matter. And I think people oversell themselves of like, oh, I've done this, so therefore I should get paid $100,000. It's like,
That's true.
nah, that's you're pushing it, man. Like, you're getting out as an E5. Like, it's not how that
Right.
works, and like, I mean, yeah, I was a company commander, but like, I was in charge of 158 people, but like, what did I really do with that? Like, what was my role and responsibility in scope, and how do I verbalize that on a resume? And, I think the biggest thing is how do you, the number one thing we all do at various positions is take care of each other. And in responsibility for training people. And, yeah, I can't put that I'm, CLS qualified. Who cares? Right. But like, I'm responsible for making sure people are trained to do their job. And I'm very, very good at that. And so how do
Right.
I verbalize that on my resume? And how do I get someone to understand what that means? So, and I always joke that people talk about the infantry, like, oh, what are you going to do? Be a security guard? It's all you can do. That or be a cop. I'm like, then you've never been in the infantry, and you've definitely never been in the military. If you think that, I was like, the infantry is the most diverse group of people I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, we have every race, every religion, every state, every football fan, and we all hate each other. Like, I mean, this is, we just talk smack nonstop. And I said, nobody cares about any of that except for
Right.
the common bottom line of get the job done.
That's it.
And let's not die doing it.
Yeah.
And as the job of an infantry squad leader is to take 9 guys who have all these differences and make them all see the common goal and go do it.
Right.
You can pray to whoever you want to pray to. You can watch whatever movie or play whatever video game or date whoever you want to date, whatever. Nobody cares. Just shoot, move, communicate. That's all I care about. And can you do those 3 things? If afterwards you want to go home and have sex with somebody of same sex, different sex, I don't really care.
Yeah.
And just come to work and let's go shoot, move, communicate. And that's the bottom line of, I think, any job out there is do your job. And I think Saban says that about Bill Belichick. So when he worked for Bill Belichick, he said that there's all these motivational signs in all these schools. You go to a Bill Belichick scene, there's one sign, it says do your job.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's it breaks it down real simple. And Ivan was that same way with us. It's like, guys, I don't care. I don't care what any of y'all do. This is before Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed and stuff, but and all the stuff going on now. But no, we wouldn't care then. We didn't care now, and or vice versa. But it's just do your job. And I think that element, figuring out what you want to do is probably the hardest part of getting out.
That's true.
Because if you've done 20 years, you've kind of created an identity.
That's true.
And it's hard to shift from that identity. And it's kind of why I started a podcast, though, is I think guys get out, girls get out, whatever, and they miss that community. And
absolutely,
I had a good friend of mine that killed himself, and kind of just lost connection. And it's hard to stand at the water fountain at the bank talking to your coworkers, and they're like, "Oh man, did you see Taylor Swift last night?" And you're like, "I just don't care," And then but I'm over here being like, "Oh yeah, so jumping on a plane, my parachute didn't work," and it's like, it's like,
what to say to you?
It's like you don't, and then we find humor in it, right? It's like, "Oh my gosh, you were running, and then it blew up, and you were like, ah, and we're all laughing, like, because we find it hilarious." But you tell it to a civilian, they're like, "You shouldn't find almost dying funny." I'm like, "Oh no, it's hilarious. You just don't understand. You haven't experienced it, so you don't know what I'm talking about." And so that's kind of why I started my show is to give vets those opportunities to to tell about KFC in the woods, and because it only makes sense to anybody who's ever been to the field being like, "I'm so jealous. I want a KFC in the woods." I mean, you're a cook. I'm sorry, but KFC is way better.
Oh, way better than Army food, dude. Hey, way better than military food, man. And we can't control what they give us to cook. That's up to the government to decide. But we don't always get the best food.
Just add water and heat. There you go.
Sadly, it's gotten better over time. Yeah, I've seen some of the stuff they used to have, but now they got a little bit better stuff.
Yeah, the field chow's pretty much just add water. The defect stuff. Most people don't realize the culinary stuff is like you're actually legitimately know how to cook, and nobody really understands.
I mean, some people get the gist of it, but basically, I mean, in AIT they don't teach you much. They teach you, hey, here's how to cook 5 cookies, and then you go to a defect and you're feeding 2,000 a meal. So it's like, oh, holy shit! What the hell?
They did not teach me the math of how to multiply this the percentages.
Nah, I joined the military really to get on the culinary arts team, but I joined in a time of war, so I went to my unit at Fort Campbell. Was gone within 3 months, and then gone, come back, gone. So it is what it is. But I wanted to ask you about being in the infantry, really being in the military in the old times. I don't know how it is now, but it was frowned upon to go to sick call. And I know you guys were like, you're probably a pussy, you're probably weak if you go to sick call. But really, everyone's time is coming to get out the military. So from you being in the military 20 years, it took you probably 17, 18 years to know that your body was kind of breaking down on you. What did you do to kind of get your records right for the VA? Because I think that's a big thing that people have the wrong idea about.
Absolutely. There's 2 lenses to look at that from, and I recognize that early, right? There's going to sick call or whatever because you're trying to get out of something like a battalion run, right? Which happens all the time, True. And oh, my knee hurts, right? That's one thing. I was like, but I never did not go to see my doc if I felt something was wrong. And I started that very, very early on in my career, back in 2004. Okay. Like, hey, something's weird, in my knee. Like something is legitimately, like you can put your hand on it, you can hear it grinding. Like that's not supposed to happen. I'm 24 years old, and I had surgery on my knee and I had floating cartilage, and they removed it all. I'm a big guy and jumping hurts, so So there's 2 lenses. You have to filter through that of like the 85 other guys that says their knee hurts. When you have something that's wrong, you get kind of guilty by association. So it's just it's like the biggest thing to get MRI stuff. But I would go and just document it. Even if it's like, hey, I went to see you for my knee 9 times before they did an MRI. And it's, lots of motor and lots of water, as the joke is, but it was documented, right? That I was went for my back. I had x-rays done on my back, and had one day at Fort Sill, had 29 x-rays in one day on my back.
Damn.
And they went and they looked at it and said, dude, your legs are like shifted. Like one leg is 9/16 longer than the other,
Wow.
it's just documented. I had a horrible migraine, passed out, fell into a brick wall, tore my shoulder and ruptured my neck, obviously went to the doctor for that.
Right.
So if
you were going though. That's the thing.
If something's wrong,
yeah,
go.
You're going.
But I think a lot of guys are like, oh, it's all good. I just tweaks a little bit. It's not a good thing. And so I think guys that go, even if it's little, go, because you never know. The little thing can become bigger. So I did my VA benefits before discharge claim. I submitted like 3,000 pages.
Damn.
So I had my digital records massive, and it's 20 years. But I went and just like, I knew someone told me before, like, get stuff documented at all times. And I think that's the biggest thing. If something's wrong, get it documented. And every single thing I claimed, plus like 6 other things that I didn't claim, were all, approved. It came out 100% and stuff, but there's a whole bunch of things that are 0 on mine.
Right.
But I mean, I've been cut many, many times. I got scars all over me, and every single one of my scars is a claim. And people don't realize, like, why'd you claim a scar? I'm like, I don't, dude. Why wouldn't you? So, like if they did, just have it claimed, have it service related. I was like, right now, my back's fine. I'm doing pretty good. I'm working on flexibility. I was like, 20 years from now, I hope I'm still walking.
Right.
So, and it's the biggest thing I tell people, and I watch a couple of your episodes, is it kind of echoes this, is if you're in that 180 days before you get out and you can do your benefits before discharge claim, you're actively in uniform, right? So the responsibility to prove that it wasn't the Army's fault is the VA. Right. So they got to look at me like, well, you're in the Army saying that you hurt. So by default, it's the Army's fault.
Right.
If you're out one day,
you're fried. Yeah.
Well, now it's proved that it happened yesterday.
Right. Exactly.
And so it's like, you have to provide work. And if it's not documented, good luck. So
exactly.
It's just it's the easiest, the benefits before discharge is the best thing someone can do. And people don't realize they're tunnel vision on like, just get out, F everybody, I'm out of here, I'm gone, I'm done. If you're getting out for 4 years or retiring, it doesn't matter. They're just kind of in that, I gotta go. And like, do the right thing. And if you're a leader out there, give them the time to do the right thing. I had to go to 29 appointments with the VA to do all my stuff. Obviously they can't say no, but don't make me feel guilty for going to get a scan done or seeing a neurologist or whatever I'm doing. So that's just but if I tell everybody I can is document it in 180 days, drop the claim.
Yeah, no doubt. No, that's all good information. What's one thing you miss about the military minus the camaraderie? Because obviously that's the common denominator for everybody. The camaraderie, it's unmatched anywhere. But what about for you?
That's a good.
Minus the field chow. I know you love that.
Yeah.
So
I do miss chicken cordon bleu. That's pretty good.
There you go.
That's you don't find that anywhere else except for Swan Man. Sorry, it's the truth though. I miss getting to do very unique things. I kind of pride myself on not being normal in some ways. And so I think being in the Army, just every day could be like, none of my friends in high school are going to believe this, and that's the coolest thing. I mean, when I was in Dubai and we're next to Saudi Arabia shooting rockets, I was like, is this for real? Like I'm sitting in a Ford Explorer watching HIMARS just fire across the country here. Like, this is crazy, and getting to shoot an AT-4. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's the coolest thing, getting to shoot the Clue, for the javelin missile. I'm like, I'm sorry. If you've never shot a real javelin, you've not really lived, it's the coolest thing in the world. And, so all of those little things that just, you can't do anywhere else. And it doesn't have to be about blowing something up. It's just there's a cool kind of the badassery of it.
Oh yeah,
That's it's kind of why we joined. If you joined to think it wasn't that, I'm not sure what you're doing, but I joined to do the shoot guns and blow stuff up and jump out of planes, and I missed that. I shoot
right.
guns all the time, but I mean, a 240 is awesome. I
You're
mean, sorry,
paying.
16 bullets.
Hey, you're paying. I was gonna say you're paying to shoot now unless you got some
Yeah,
deal. You worked out, you get free ammo. But
yeah.
I was
I don't.
gonna ask you, how much do you think it would cost to shoot 3,000 rounds down range with that gun that you shot?
3,308 rounds. That's what I'm saying.
What?
Like,
That's what I'm saying. That's gonna cost you something crazy, dude. We're getting
yeah,
paid to do it. I mean, even as a cook, I got to shoot the 203. I got to shoot the Barrett. I got to shoot a 50 cal unlimited times, dude. You get attached to infantry units and you get to do everything they're doing. So yeah, it's.
I'm saying Afghanistan. We played mortar bingo. Like,
there you go.
true story. I mean, we're launching mortars into the mountainside, trying to have a domino effect of landmines going off, and the record was 6, by the way. And because all the Russian mines were still there. I mean, it's like, where else can you just shoot mortars into a random mountainside just to see if other bombs go off? So I miss that a lot.
Yeah, or just shoot a 50 cal into a mountainside too, just for target practice, or shoot 203 rounds because you got to burn them, or shoot star clusters, or hang mortars. I got to do all that even as a cook, but that's the military, man.
Right.
If you embrace it and get around the people doing it, you can do the same thing as they're doing. So
get a Mark 19, it's like F you and all those around you.
For real. So. You can't do that nowhere in the United States. I mean, probably go to Vegas and get picked up by that one company that you have to pay an ass load of money to go do it, but we got paid to do it. So where can other veterans find you? I know you got a badass website. I loved your website when I got on there. It's easy. Yeah. I guess that's your forte though. You like doing web design. You like doing stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's easy to build. If you want to get a hold of me, my website's very easy. It's womackc3.com.
Okay.
And that's just my personal business. The number on there is my cell phone though, and my LinkedIn's on there as well. Travis Womack. I'm the only bald, good-looking dude out there. Just kidding. And but I'm here to help anybody that ever needs help with transition, or they're already out and looking for stuff. I'm a professional coach as well, so it's kind of what I do.
Okay, and if you need coyotes and boars,
if if there's small 4-legged animals or 2 that need to be removed, I'm your guy. I've got the ATN Thor 4 thermal scope is pretty awesome. Not gonna lie. So,
I need to get out there on some skid bridge myself. Nah, man, but it's been a pleasure having you on, and I mean, we had a great conversation. Good stories. Definitely, appreciate what you've done for the Army and what you continue to do. I'm glad that we got to connect, and I'm looking forward to coming on your show next week. But you got anything that you want to close it out?
No,
are you good to go?
This is great. It has been a lot of fun. Looking forward to where it all goes.
Yes, sir. You too, man. So if you guys made it this far, hopefully you can like, comment, subscribe. Go check out Travis's his website. Sign up for his podcast. I'm looking forward to it. I got some field stories too for you, man. So I'm gonna
look forward to
save it till next week. It's kind of cool like KFC, man, but we'll keep it till next week. But appreciate you guys listening in. You got my email right there, thereal1%1@gmail.com. Reach out if you guys got a story to tell. All veteran stories matter. Don't let anyone else think otherwise. And I appreciate you guys listening. So until next time, you guys have a blessed day. Thanks for joining us.